Welcome to The Bold, and this is the Global Watch. Here, we look at politics beyond our borders because what is happening in the United States of America have a strong bearing to this country, Kenya. A New York City jury on Thursday convicted former President Donald Trump on all the accounts, 34 accounts, accusing him of falsifying business records to cover up a hush money scheme related to his 2016 presidential election. And Donald Trump has been found guilty of all these 34 leveled against him. This development have a strong bearing on US elections that is supposed to happen later in November. But what has really captured the attention of netizens here is his reaction and some few fellows that he has linked to that decision, that verdict from the jury. And that is why I want us to look at it. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll also happen to understand what is the implication of this, because remember, the President of the Republic of Kenya signed some deals with Biden. And if Biden is going to lose the US elections in November, then all that, majority of that which was agreed between Ruto and America might actually not be actualized. So if President Ruto is praying for everything that they agreed with Biden to happen, then there is no doubt that he's vouching for the rerun of Joe Biden. And that is why from now we are going to look at this development keenly. So what's more interesting? I know maybe for those who are getting in for the first time, and also those who also happen to understand a bit of this going on, in the first I want to explain the hush money scheme. This is a case that has now spanned for more than 15 years. In 2006, Donald Trump attended a golf event in Nevada. And in that golf event, he met a TV star known as Stormy Daniels. And they had a consequence. Now, this story dates back in 2006 when Donald Trump attended a golf event in Nevada. And then there he met an adult TV star known as Stormy Daniels. And it is highly reported they had an affair. But what was actually agreed is they both agreed, not that someone was forced into this. They both agreed. So that is something that happened way back in 2006. Now, in the run-up to 2016 general election, this story propped up. And there's an attempt for it to come out because it had an implication of denting the image of Donald Trump. Donald Trump allegedly hired Parker, who is also was his strong ally by then. And what happened is that this Parker had an agreement with that Stormy Daniels for that story not to be published. And I think he bought all the publications on behalf of Joe Biden, on behalf of Trump, so that that story would not come out. Now, that story was being suppressed because if it was coming, if it would go to public, then it was going to dent the presidential campaign's messaging of Donald Trump. So that was back then in the run-up to 2016 general election. So this continued. And then there are some payments or there are some transactions from Donald Trump organizations to Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen was Trump's attorney, was Trump's lawyer by then. Now, what is being alleged, or what the investigators are now coming up with, is Donald Trump even falsified the documents, because when the payment was made, it was being made under the guise of paying Cohen his dues. But in any sense, Cohen was actually paying Stormy Daniels so that the stories, over the decision for those stories not to be published. So what later happened is Michael Cohen was actually charged and was even jailed for this. But the story has been going on, and this investigation has been underway. So he was accused on felony because of that, because he falsified the documents in this transaction, because what was paid, as allegedly paid as Cohen's dues, were actually taken or actually given to the lady. So the lady went back the Stowe medallions went back to court and were pursuing some, had to be allowed, the legal rights to be allowed to publish that story, to walk out of that agreement. And that's how this story blew out. So yesterday, he was found guilty of all the 34 accounts. And remember, according to records, he's the first American president to face criminal charges. And if he's found guilty, because the verdict will be given in July, if he's found guilty, he's supposed to face 230 years in prison. And this is also coming at a time when the US is just 157 days away from a general election that is supposed to happen in November. So ladies and gentlemen, that is what exactly happened in it. And I think Kenyans really need to look at that story. Look at this 2006 story, and it's an affair. It borders the morality of a leader. That is enough to bring down Donald Trump. In Kenya, we look for the big cases of corruption, but here it's a matter of chapter 6. In Kenya, this is chapter 6. If this will be the moral standing of US before they even bring a leader into office is really of high regard. And that is why this case has a bit of that weight. But there is an interesting twist to this. Now, when Trump was in court, and throughout this case, he's been trying to dismiss the judges, profile the jury as Democrats and political opponents that are around this. But there is a speech he said in his first reaction while speaking just after the courtroom, speaking about this case. And this is what Kenyans have really been capturing. I want you to listen to what Trump said there.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. But the real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. You have a Soros-backed DA and the whole thing. We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent. And I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end, and we'll win, because our country's gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess. We're a nation in decline, serious decline. Millions and millions of people pouring into our country right now, from prisons and from mental institutions, terrorists, and they're taking over our country. We have a country that's in big trouble. But this was a rigged decision right from day one, with a conflicted judge who should have never been allowed to try this case, never. And we will fight for our Constitution. This is long from over. Thank you very much.
So, that reaction, he's pointing fingers to the Soros. And what the country will, I will challenge you to look at, just go and Google the Soros, the George Soros, is blaming some forces like of those, the George Soros, to have influenced the decision by the DAs, the district attorneys, for the case to go against him. And there is a question of how is it that all the 12th jury read a riot act on Donald Trump. it's really, but it also means it shocked most of the newsrooms because it came too fast. So fast, a bit unexpected, and was it just too easy to decide the case? But I wanted to look at what Donald Trump is saying there. He's referring, or rather he's blaming George Soros, who is an American Hungarian Jewish mega donor, and according to Trump, that is the person that influenced the attorneys. These Soros stories in some publications, And I was just looking at Kenyans, some Kenyans who are in the diaspora who are actually sharing this story with me, who are telling me that, Kevin, there was a photo of President William Ruto meeting Soros' son, Alexander Soros, during the recent US tour. I want to look at these photos. If you look at this, and I think there is a tweet, even shared the tweet, I'll want us to look at that tweet, because this is why it's really creating a lot of debate online, because the person that Trump is blaming is a person that associated the law now, Alex Soros. Alex Soros, Kenyan state dinner at White House in honor of President William Ruto and Open Society's own Kenyan president. Then you can see them there. Now, this is the tweet that was shared, and this is the gentleman that met William Ruto. Now, this Alexander Soros is the son to George Soros. So the person Trump is blaming that is influencing the decision by the jury to pass the verdict on him is the person that met William Ruto's, is his son met William Ruto in the US. And that is why Kenyans were really raising eyebrows on this. So if Trump is blaming this gentleman for having some influence on the American election, and when William Ruto was also in the US, William Ruto met his son, Kenyans have been trying to join the dots. That indeed, much of, if you check the profile of Alexander Soros, is the founder of Open Society Foundation. And Open Society Foundation, they're saying they work to build vibrant and inclusive democracies whose governments are accountable to their people. So you can see why Trump, the person Trump is crying for, that this is the person against me, and that is why Kenyans were raising questions. So Trump is talking about the Soros. But when the president was in US during that White House meeting, that dinner, he met with the Soros son. Could it be that this is a political wheel dealer? There's so many questions about that. Now, I have also understood that his campaign website crashed. Immediately this decision came out, Donald Trump campaign website crashed because Kenyans flooded there. Not Kenyans, but Americans, some of his Republican supporters, and of course I know both Republicans and he also has some Democrats, supported him, and until that website crashed. So, the implications of this case is big on 5th November polls. And the 5th November polls have a very big impact on Kenyan election, or rather on Kenyan relationship with the US. We just signed some deal with Biden. And if Biden is not gonna get the second term, then Kenya is also not sitting pretty well with the US. I want to interpret the implications of this case on November polls in relation to Kenya-US relations. But before that, I just want to weigh in, and I want to ask our viewers who are really from the US about this, and people that have been following this. What is your take on that case? I was just having some chit chat and with some of our subscribers here, and one of the things they're raising, Kevin, here is in this country, Kenya, these things happen. This was a personal affair somewhere in 2006, the time. It was a personal affair by a TV star by that time, and they did their thing. And then there was a way to cover up the story and make it, cover up the story to make sure that it doesn't get to the public and all that, falsifying records. So is the case about that affair with the lady in 2006, or the case is about falsifying records? Now, people are a bit mixing up the two. I think the falsifying records in making those payments is what is more interesting. And if you want to know, in politics, there are Trump has so many enemies. That Parker, the gentleman that he hired to buy the stories so that Stormy Daniels doesn't publish the story, was one of the people that testified against him in that case. Yes. Is the person that testified against him. And I remember when he came out and one day, I think during when this case was going on, he was asked, and he praised Parker, say, oh, Parker's a good man, he's a good heart, he's doing the right thing. But there is something that is going on in the US. One thing I like with this, I like the fact, whether Trump will make his way or not, in this case, through this case or not, because it also has a bearing on stopping him in the ballot. But I think the discourse is very good as to whether the system is compromised or no. But the fact that such a case can stand in the gap of that election, can stand in the space to determine the fate of that election is not something to be withered, not something to be wished away. Because look at Kenya. When you go through IBC, all the boxes are just ticked within minutes. You just tick the boxes. You don't even, people rush to EACC, get cleared. People go to DSCI, easily cleared, HELB, bank, easily. But there, I like the way that it's meticulous. It's a big deal to get the nod to vie as a president. So let's look at the implications. Number one, Biden is facing one of the most dangerous narratives. And this is the narrative by the Democrats and the Trump supporters, that he's weaponizing the courtroom to crush the opponents. I've just been looking at how different people are reacting there. The reactions really points out to something. And I looked at Robert J.F. Kennedy, who is an independent candidate. Yes, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He penned his reaction. He's an independent candidate in that election. And this is what he said. The Democratic Party strategy is to beat President Trump in the courtroom rather than in the ballot box. This will backfire in November. Even worse, it is profoundly undemocratic. America deserves a president who can win at the ballot box without compromising our government's separation of powers or weaponizing the courts. You can't save democracy by destroying it first. The Democrats are afraid that they will lose in the voting booth, so instead they go after Trump in the courtroom. I'm also running against President Trump in this election. The difference is I am challenging him on the record. His lockdowns during COVID, his atrocities, environmental record, his cozy relationship with corporate America, his support for the war machine, his failure to root out waste and corruption in Washington, his service to the billionaire class, his blunting of the national debt. These are the issues that shape American lives. I will challenge him on these things, but the Democrats won't. You know why? Because they pursue the very same policies. So if you read this, even one of the independent candidates is pushing this. And probably he wants to eat into both the Democrats and Republicans. But very big interest is this. I've sampled a couple of some few reactions here. I just want you to listen to them. Yeah, what some are saying.
55 plus years ago, our republic was founded. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we see our republic on its deathbed right now. President Trump was just found guilty on all 34 kangaroo counts, with the judge saying you don't even have to agree, just find him guilty in total violation of law. They don't care the case will be overturned. They want the headline in this campaign that he is a convicted felon because they believe that'll backfire on President Trump. I predict, as I've done for the last year, that all these fake indictments and fake convictions that are coming will backfire on the deep state and the globalists. The problem is, if you look at their next playbook and the next card in their playbook, their next move, it will be false flag terror attacks blamed on Trump supporters angry about the verdict. We do not want any violence. We do not want any attacks. We are intellectually, culturally, spiritually winning. We've got to back Trump to the hilt. He's not perfect, but he's America first. He cares about this country, and he actually tried to be the president and turn this country around 90%. And the deep state believes they own this nation. They believe they own you. He pulled us out of the UN Health Treaty. He pulled us out of the WHO. They want all of that in place. They want to cut off our energy. They want to put the carbon taxes in. They want to dissolve our borders. They want drag queen pedophile time. And President Trump is opposing every one of their agendas. So now is the time to get serious. With 158 days left, the most important election in world history, realize that the deep state that was hiding is now out in the open, and they are desperate. And they have all these fake civil trials and criminal trials, and they've been caught in every single one of them engaged in classical show trial, kangaroo court, railroading. So this is them being convicted of tyranny and judicial oppression, not President Trump. This is a conviction of the globalists, just like when two judges found me guilty and then had show trials and told juries I was guilty, just find out how guilty I am. That blew up in their face, and it's the same thing happening here today. Please follow me at Real Alex Shows on X. Please follow us at Infowars.com/show, where we're live right now covering all this with live feeds at X. And tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central, I'll be covering all this as well. Harrison Smith, 8 a.m. weekdays. Owen Shore at 3 p.m. He's live right now with Brian Rose and others covering this. I'll be in there with them as well. So if you're all watching right now on X, go to Infowars.com/show and Real Alex Jones, because this is your republic through a judicial coup being robbed from you. They know army tanks and fighter jets is too obvious. They've already tried to cause race wars and insurrections, and they're already telling you a civil war is coming the next 160-something days before the election, 158 days. But we've got to see through this, understand this is the action of a desperate deep state. This is the action of people that are running scared. Pray for President Trump. Pray for the press. Pray for Elon Musk supporting free speech, and share information like you never have before, because this is the real battle for the republic.
I can't believe the hoax, this sham, this absolute injustice justice system. D.A. Bragg and the judge should be ashamed of themselves. This isn't just ridiculous. This actually erodes the confidence that Americans have in the justice system. Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. But good news is coming. D.A. Bragg, hear me clearly. You cannot silence the American people. You cannot stop us from voting for change. Joe Biden's injustice, Joe Biden's two-tier injustice system, weaponizing the justice system of the United States of America against a political opponent, un-American. Joe Biden, you're fired. We the people stand with Donald Trump.
So you can see how people are talking, but there is something in it that and I think the whole world is following this. Back in our election, the narratives of deep state and those in power weaponizing the state machinery against political opponents has been there. They will unleash police in your home. They will unleash AKRA in your businesses. They will throw every scandal your way. And this is a matter that is coming at a very critical stage, because the world views US as the most democratic country in the world. That is the image that America creates. So the Donald Trump case really charging the nation and creating a different perspective that, this is a weapon against Trump. But then that is one of the biggest implications, because it's also, it can unite some forces against Trump. And if you want to know what I'm saying is not simple, Biden made just a tweet. I realized in America, they're asking for donations. They're asking for donations, donate to support our campaign kitty. Even Biden is asking for donations so that people can donate for his campaign kitty. I think politics in US is public funded. In Kenya here, if you dare try to ask for donations to vie, for example, during elections, then you will be branded a person who is weak, who is broke, who doesn't have the money. Now, in US, it is politicians asking for the public to fund their campaigns. Contrary to here, where politicians are giving money to the public so that they can be voted for. But there, you are asking for donations, donate for my campaign so that I can be able to deliver my policies. That's what's happening. That's what's happening in the US. I think it's a good, I think it's a good system. Ours is unnecessarily expensive under the guise of Gonya. Gonya means give me something lately. Number two, the second implication of this case, it casts a big dent on Trump's moral standing as a leader. You know, there are some members of both Democrats and even Republicans, there are those who support Donald Trump on two grounds. They support Donald Trump because he can remove Biden, and they believe that Biden has not delivered as to his mandate. That's the one group. And there are those who also feel that Biden has not really, that Trump could be better. You know, there was a Trump before Biden. But again, there is also another sensible person that will look at the moral standing. When I'm electing someone in office, what is the moral standing? And I've looked at the way fellows have been standing with Trump. I can tell you there is no difference even with the Kenyan voters, because even Kenyan voters doesn't look at the moral standing. During campaigns, there was so much information-based campaign on the moral standing of presidential candidates and different candidates, even at governor and MPs. But the MPs, but Kenyans will tell you, we want that criminal. So even here, of course, what happened falsifying the documents within the American democratic principles, it's something that really had dent the moral standing of Donald Trump. And that would really make also Biden to get his way. Number three, the sympathy on Donald Trump is really big. And that sympathy is the one he's using to boost his campaign kitty. Donald Trump is going to boost his campaign kitty. Remember, immediately this case came out, immediately this case started, they started talking about this case, things really started going big. And he was receiving a lot of money. So I can tell you it will be an exercise in futility if July, when the full verdict is supposed to, the full verdict is supposed to come out, and Trump gets to the ballot. If you listen to his speech, he's saying that the deep state is rigging me out. They fear me. They don't want to meet me in the ballot. And that's why they are fabricating all manner of cases around me. He's running that narrative. And Americans are listening to what he's saying. By the way, Americans are listening to what he's saying. And those who have a reason, want another reason to not to vote for Biden, are trying to get more reasons on the other end. Personally, I think if you look at the Trump one, he didn't come out as a man that was really supporting the blacks. And that is what really most of people on this other side did not really get well with him. But probably once bitten, twice shy, he might learn his lesson and do that. And of course, polls have also been showing that he's been getting some massive support. I think the trend is changing, and he's been amassing some really big support even from the Democrats on the other end. So lastly, if Trump is struck off the race, Biden will have it easy, but with a lot of weight on his end. I don't know if Trump is, one thing I want to know, if Trump is struck off the race, will the Republican be allowed to pick another candidate? And do they have another strong candidate in the caliber of Trump to challenge Biden? Because again, this will really have a very big repercussion on that election. So ladies and gentlemen, that is my take. And I hope that we are going to follow this. I would want to really hear your take on this. Those who have also been following. This is a case that I've really been following closely, the Hashman scheme. I've really been following this. And I think it's one that we really need to pay attention to. We said if Trump loses, if Biden loses to Trump, hey, I'm telling you, even William Ruto back home shall really have got a big blow. But there is also understanding that even if he gets, he might continue. The military corporations, that's one he won't touch because it has to go to Pentagon. But the ones that are at the disposal of the president are really in doubt. And looking at the manner of campaign he's doing a campaign of American First, trying to hide about on many other things, but is running an American First campaign. Thank you.